Well, I am Mrs. Louv, MD. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can call me Lou for short. And I just want to share this information that I have had on my mind in regard to the levels of consciousness. So when we think about the way people are thinking, there's different aspects of consciousness. And just to name a few, there's the 3D, 4D, and then 5D state. All right. And so we are aware of consciousness in a sense of having experienced deja vu or simply felt through meditation. There's so much more that we can comprehend. Just like we have different dimensions in this universe, we also have different dimensional states of consciousness. All right, so like I mentioned about the three different states of consciousness, those perceiving things from a 3D state are going to walk through life much more differently from someone perceiving things from a 5D state. If you're curious what dimensional state of consciousness you're at, I'll give you a few examples. So if you're living from a 3D state of consciousness, you'll be viewing things from a purely physical state. You are seen as an individual that is separate from others, right? So this looks like someone that is very low vibrational, someone that may be stagnated in some ways due to trauma, childhood things, just family of origin issues, dysfunctionality. The person may feel like they're in some type of survival of the fittest mode, and they typically identify more with their look, the job they have, the car they drive, the people that surround them, and they feel fearful about missing out or not having enough. Things are perceived in this state of 3D consciousness as being good or bad, or life as a huge competition, and there is not enough for everyone. So it's more so a mindset of scarcity. Fulfillment is found in merely making money and social status. The person that's in a 3D state usually is very immersed within the matrix. In the general sense, a average person that is inundated with a lot of media propaganda and operates accordingly. Their thoughts have no power over their reality, and what comes your way in life is simply a coincidence. They rely mainly on their five senses in order to move about the world, opposed to having that connection with their soul. Now, of course, there is a lot of joy in whichever state you're in, but when you're in a 3D state, they are looking at things from that very lower frequency, and it's an operation out of pain and deeper emotions of fear that they subconsciously have. In a 3D state, there is no desire to go within or to look at things from a deeper perspective. Life is played out by skimming the surface, and there is no desire to dig deeper or to understand the deeper meaning behind these things. So typically when you think about somebody in that 3D state of consciousness, they are somebody like a relative that may not truly get the deeper implications of their behaviors. They may be solely defining their lives by the experiences they're having, by social status, by things that are surface level. So living from a 4D state, the fourth dimensional state is like a gateway to the fifth dimension. When you're in that 4D state, it's easy to travel back to 3D, of course. And the reason that is because the person may be in a process of awakening spiritually, making their subconscious more aware, and they may be inclined to want to go backwards, but they are in a state of awareness, so it pushes them forward. All right, and 4D consciousness begins to awaken the idea that they are more connected outside of themselves, and more so have a spiritual connection, and there's more to life than what meets the eye. A lot of old hang-ups as opposed to being vain and just being driven mainly by materialism, those things are beginning to shed away when the person is entering into a 4D state. And as we know, thoughts are very powerful and can shift in whatever way the reality is perceived. So this is where duality comes in, which is the idea of good and bad is still an experience that you can learn from. But there is more compassion and understanding behind this when you're in this higher elevation of consciousness. During this state, it's very important to focus more so on your meditation, leading more of a healthier lifestyle, making sure you have healthier choices, because it will facilitate you to continue to evolve into a higher frequency. During this state, there is a strong desire to find purpose and passion in your life. Now, this also may look like a breakdown, or I would prefer to say a breakthrough, where someone goes through a crisis in their life, an existential crisis, a midlife crisis, these things. And Western medicine doesn't really focus on the spiritual aspect of a being. So a lot of times when a person is going through these breakthroughs, it looks like anxiety, it looks like depression, it looks like questioning a lot of things. And it's because spiritually they are evolving. They're beginning to feel, and they have entered into the state of 4D consciousness. There's a strong sense of self that comes about, and the person will begin to no longer identify with what served them when they were operating below that level of consciousness in merely the 3D state. Now, when we move on to living within the 5D state, it is very difficult to go all the way back to 3D state. From this level of consciousness, you begin to understand that we are all connected within the universe. Life becomes more so of a journey of growth, and there is no such thing as good or bad per se. It's a balance when it comes to the experiences you have had along the way. Some people that, for whatever reasons, it could have been a traumatic event, it could have been loss, murder, death of someone, loss of jobs, loss of a home. Any of these experiences, if a person was totally unconscious in a sense of operating in that 3D, these life-changing events could propel them into a level of spiritual awakening as the person is trying to really survive the experiences they are having. So when I speak about the experiences you had not necessarily being good or bad, it's because it is all meant to evolve you to awaken into your best self, and to really venture on into fulfilling your purpose in life. From this level of consciousness, you begin to understand that there's a higher purpose for your life, and you begin to have a stronger connection to the feelings of love and admiration and just the love of others. You understand that you are on a journey at this point, and it's something that it may require you to shed a lot of people, a lot of things, but you know that you're gaining more than what you're leaving behind. From this state, you know that there is no competition, and there is enough in the universe for everyone. So you move from operating out of the mindset of scarcity to an abundance mindset. You feel an overwhelming sense of love for self, and you want to extend that and let it reverberate throughout the earth and those that you encounter. You'll become more in tune with your intuition, and you'll feel more so a spiritual connection from the angels, from the ancestors, a connection from source, from the goddess, from God. And as you know, during this process, there's even more higher states of consciousness. But these are believed to be only accessible after having left a lot of traumatic events behind. And it requires a lot of purging, meditation, but it is something that's achievable. And it's also achieved through plant medicines and herbs. So in the higher states of consciousness, there are 3 key differences: the perception of time, power of your thoughts, and feelings of oneness. All right. Time is not linear and cannot be measured. Instead, time feels endless. There is no fear when you get to a higher level of consciousness and these states of being, and everything is perceived to be from a place of pure, unconditional love. In these higher states, we can also travel within our soul in order to be connected on that higher level. And when I say travel, I mean in the sense of when you go into a state of meditation, and those that are conditioned to have acclimated themselves of having a spiritual practice of meditation, you'll get to a place where you can really travel in your mind. You can place yourself into your future, which speeds up your manifestations and let those blessings come into fruition for you. So this is all I have for this segment. As always, vibrate higher and thrive. I'm Louv. Ashe.